Hi there, welcome everybody. Welcome to our LFS, what are we calling it? Oh my goodness me. Meet the Professionals Masterclass in Filmmaking here from London Film School. My name is Charis Coke. I am the MA Filmmaking course leader. And before I introduce our wonderful professionals, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the course, and a little bit about my role in that, and in even smaller part about my background in filmmaking. So hopefully you're all here because you have an awareness of the course already, but we are a generalist film course, so we ask the students to study all aspects that we offer. You can do everything from directing to cinematography to camera operating to editing to sound to production design. And a whole lot of other smaller roles are there as well. And also what we are, I suppose, not uniquely, but we are fairly unique in the amount of films that we make. So each of you, if you're starting with us in September, you're going to be doing at the least 10 films throughout your coursework over those 2 years. And you can do many, many more than that if you are proactive and working on other people's projects too. So the amount of films we make every year is absolutely astounding. Suffice to say, we had 46 graduation films last term alone. So that's a huge amount of work, and that's not counting all the exercises that come before that. So there's a lot of practical work happening all the time, lots and lots of opportunity for you to hone your skills, to do different roles perhaps that you hadn't thought about doing, and in so doing, learning more about the whole filmmaking process, which should also feed then whatever you do in the industry. It should also feed your awareness of the whole filmmaking process. And that's one of the things that we think is incredibly important to young growing filmmakers and to those who are coming back into education also, who want to do something slightly different with their skill base. Which leads on to the sort of cohorts that we have. We have a very diverse cohort in all sorts of different ways. Currently we have students from 52 different countries. We also have people from the ages of around 23 to, we have a current first term student who is, I think, 50. So everything in between as well. And the amount of different previous work that people have done is also from professional level right through to people who are making their first starts in filmmaking. So you can see the kind of diversity in all sorts of different ways that we have coming through the doors. Now, the really great thing about that is that we have the ability to then feed off of everyone's experiences, and this kind of cultural melting pot that we have and experiential melting pot really helps you to develop your filmmaking, your storytelling, and your understanding of different ways of doing that as well. One of the things that's always I find really impressive about our graduation films is that they speak to lots of different types of people. And I think that's because of the diversity in the cohort that it kind of feeds that side of it. So I'm always really excited when we get to the end of every graduation cohort, just to see what they've come up with and to experience those worlds on screen. So we are also in a position where we are rolling out a slightly new version of the course, which also includes a lot of new aspects that perhaps Affonso and Kyla aren't used to at this stage. So we have a bit more in the way of industry experience, and we have a bit more in the way of understanding things like sustainability and the processes around how AI is integrated into filmmaking currently. We don't do AI filmmaking, but we do use a lot of AI in our softwares and things like that. So that is kind of where we're going with the course, which is very, very exciting. And my role in that all is to oversee the staff team, which is in its own right very diverse. Lots of different people, lots of different experience, lots of different specialist areas. And to oversee the curriculum and the delivery of that and how that's developed over time. My background is in post-production sound. So when I'm not here in this room or in the staff office over there, I am beavering away on computer in a small dark room with no windows, doing post-production sound work for all sorts of types of films, from artist work to animations to shorts to features to adverts to all sorts of things. So I have been doing that for about 30 years, and I've been teaching filmmaking for about just over 20 years. So, and I'm not unique in that, in the film team. So we have a huge amount of things going on all the time, not just in the school, but outside of it as well. So that kind of environment, that sort of filmmaking passion that comes with all of the staff team is something that enables us to keep you all really passionate, to guide you, not just in the making of your films, but also in the making of your career, and hopefully what that does is it allows you to explore lots of different options, and also to make the most of our experience as well. So hopefully you won't make the same mistakes we did when we were starting out. So that's a kind of a really quick whistle-stop tour. And if you have any further questions about the course, there are lots of different ways to understand more about it. You can look on the website, you can email me, you can talk to admissions, you can do all sorts of things. There's open days coming up as well. So any questions you have around those areas, there's lots of different ways to find the answers. But today, the purpose of this session is for you to get a little taste of some of what we do around integrating industry into the student's experience. So we have a very alive and very energetic series of Q&As, which involve all sorts of different types of people, including Affonso and Kyla, who are with us today. We do those sessions, I think 8 times a term, and each term is about 12 weeks. And those people come in, we show their films, and then we do a Q&A afterwards. And it's a really, really good way of understanding filmmaking from a slightly different perspective, but understanding the world of filmmaking and how that can guide you in your development of your own skills as well. So we do that a lot here. Affonso was here a year ago, maybe just over a year ago now. And Kyla has done some stuff with us as well, slightly less recently, actually. It's been a while now since we've seen each other. So they are here very gracefully to talk about their experience, not just of what they're doing now, but how they went from being a student here at LFS to where they are now. And hopefully a few bits in between. So without further ado, I want to introduce Affonso Goncalves, who is an extremely well-respected editor. He has edited all sorts of things, and I think they're up on your screen now, from the most recent Hamnet to the absolutely incredible I'm Still Here, which I still absolutely adore, to Carol, A Lost Daughter, all sorts of things like that. So working very much at the top of his game right now. Well done, Affonso. And Kyla Simone Bruce, who likewise is doing great guns at the moment in her field. So directing all sorts of different projects, from Rye Lane, which is one of my favorites, to being around in Top Boy, Undocument, and I think The Interpreter as well. That's right, isn't it, Kyla? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, that was my grad film, The Interpreter. I was
Yeah.
the script supervisor on Rye Lane, just
Yeah,
to
yeah. Fair enough.
correct
Yeah,
that
no,
mind. But yeah.
that's fair enough. So both of you are alumni from the school and the course. And I suppose what would be really good at this stage is just to sort of introduce what you do, not on a daily basis, but what is it that how would you identify your role in filmmaking at the moment, Kyla? Where would you say you're sitting right now?
So I'm having a really creative time at the moment because I'm in the last stages of developing my next feature. So I took off. My day job for the last few years has been script supervising.
Yeah,
Doing continuity on, I mean, Top Boy's on there and
yeah.
Gangs of London. The Great I worked on was a good one. And I got more into commercials with that as well, script supervising commercials, because uh, it's just shorter projects. So because I want to make my own films still, it was fun doing the long form and doing long blocks on really high-end TV shows, which I really enjoyed. But it was kind of time to get back to making my next one. So I'm script supervising commercials because it's
Yeah.
shorter stints of work, and yeah, and I've been writing lots for like the last 3 months to finish this
Right.
project. So yeah, it's been a good
That's
time.
brilliant, brilliant. And Alfonso, you're currently what would you say? How would you introduce yourself as a party?
Currently, uh, currently, I'm actually finishing. I just finished a film. I just locked picture on last Friday on a movie with Ira Sachs, the director that I've been working with. Actually, I did Peter Hoosier Day, the poster that's on the top, on the bottom left there with him. But I've been working with him for many years. So we've just finished a film. I'm doing a short with Maggie Gyllenhaal,
Yeah,
which I worked with her on The Lost Daughter, and I'm also about to start a movie that just started shooting in Mexico with Todd Haynes. That's going to be my next. So I'm kind of like in between three things. I'm like
yeah.
juggling those three at the same time, but yeah, I'm working, which is nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I suppose that kind of leads on to another question for both of you, which is, and this will be different every week that you think about this, but what is your typical working week, Kyla?
Well, at the moment, it's been very different to usual, because usually it would be being a lot on set, which is,
Mm.
early mornings and figuring out where I need to get to, and schedules changing and it being very intense. But the last few months, because I've just been writing, it's been a very loose schedule, and it's been lovely. I'm in a really good position
Yeah,
right now to be able to write. So, um, yeah, kind of living the writer's life, which is the
living the dream.
absolute opposite of,
Yeah,
crewing on set. It's completely different, which is, very long hours and no time to yourself, um and yeah, very fun in another way. But at the moment it's calm creativity,
very like
which
chalk
is,
and cheese,
yeah,
very, very
yeah,
different. Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. And Alfonso, I suppose you have a similar dichotomy in some ways, in that the bigger projects you work on probably take up a huge amount of your time. The smaller projects, maybe I don't. I mean, you tell me what's your week like at the moment?
I mean, no, it's actually pretty much the same. I think it's less about the size of the project and where I am with the
Mm,
project. Like with Iris Film, because I'm finishing, basically we finish the film, we watch it, and then we watch it again, and then we watch it again to make sure everything's the way we were changing, even though we locked picture. Last week we were changing music and trying different things. But then once I'm done with that, then I just need to do, as you know, then I'm giving it to sound. So then sound design starts, and I'll become more like a supervisor in a way of coming
yeah,
in, coming to the mix, listen to what they're doing. But that's my job. But because of Todd's movie starting, so then my job is there is watching the footage, taking notes, and start putting together things. So
mm,
it's basically how divide the time. Like now, Todd is shooting, so I'm not with him. So I'm going to be doing a cut by myself, and then he'll join. Once he joins, then it's a 9 to 5. Well, with Todd, it's actually 9 to 7. 5 days a week is very intense with him, and
mm,
then just build and create that together. And I mean, it's core in any changes depending who the director is. So you
yeah.
kind of like adjust and adapt to that environment too.
I suppose that, I mean, again, you've worked with Todd before, right? That's correct, isn't it,
I
Alfonso?
I
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
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 yeah. I've been working with Todd for like 12 years now. So
yeah.
there's a very easy way that we can communicate, and the way
Mm,
he has a very, very specific way, unlike any other director that I work with, the way Todd works. But to me, it's very easy to adapt because it's just okay, that's his thing. And then when we start working together, it's just it's a great collaboration because there's no question. There's nothing like I know exactly what I'm walking into.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. So, what are the biggest misconceptions about being a director, Kyla, from your perspective?
I think it really depends what kind of director you are.
Mm,
Like, I have lots of friends and colleagues that are working directors, director for hire, and
mm,
they're a lot more booked up, which is, I guess, how some people imagine it. It could be that you're constantly
mm,
working. I started getting into commercials. I directed a few commercials and music videos and things, and then I made a really conscious decision that I didn't want to be that kind of director.
mm.
I I kind of made my first feature before that, so I had the experience of writing and directing my own project, and the freedom that that allows.
Yeah,
And it's great being a working director as well. It's just a completely different thing. But that I really wanted to work on drama, and I love character, and research as well. All my projects start with quite an intense research um, part. So that's when I decided to kind of get into script supervising, so I could script supervise um, projects that I might not necessarily be directing, but I felt I could also learn
yeah,
from, and some big budget stuff to see how those things go. But I kind of decided I wanted to be on set, script supervising drama over directing commercials and music videos and those kind of things. So um, yeah, now focusing on my next feature, there's long stints that I'm not directing. And sometimes I get itchy feet and I'll just make some small like creative project, um, kind of music videos or that kind of thing, just
oh,
because I kind of get
because you want to
the need to
create,
do
right?
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do, it has been really interesting watching other directors how they work, because TV directing is so different
Yeah.
to fiction, to feature films, just because of the format and what's expected. And there'll be a bunch of different directors on one show
Yeah.
and how they work together, and it's just a whole different world, which is very impressive and amazing to watch.
Mm.
Obviously, I wouldn't say no to like the right type of high-end TV drama either. There's not much difference between movies and TVs with a lot of shows nowadays, which is awesome. Um, but yeah, I guess going back to your question, the misconception is about like how much you'll work, and for me, it's very much like big gaps of not
Yeah.
directing. Yeah.
So doing other things to A, to keep yourself creatively active, but B, to keep yourself able to pay the bills and all the rest of it. You've made conscious decisions along the way to, I suppose, form a plan that works for you as an individual.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like commercials, is that's a whole other world, and it's very difficult to get into, and obviously
Yeah.
pays very well, and there are directors that then cross over from having successful commercial careers into making
Sure.
their features and directing TV. That is definitely a route, but it's also a very difficult world to get into and takes up a lot of time. So
Sure.
I decided I basically just really want to make the films that are my babies and that I want to
Sure.
make. Yeah.
Absolutely. Too right. Fonzo, Kai was talking about research there, and obviously from a directing perspective, I think everyone would understand the need for that. What kind of, or do you do any research? And if you do, what kind of research do you do before you get embroiled in a post in edit?
Embroiled in an interesting word. Before I get embroiled, I mean, I only do research if there's the research that I do is whatever the film, the theme of the film, or if the
Mm,
film is based on a book, or the film takes place in the 20s or 30s, or like in the case I'm still here, a very specific time in Brazil.
yeah.
So I do research to understand the world around the time that the film takes place. I try to research actually if I can, music of the time, or I remember when I was doing Lost Daughter, I knew they were going to shoot in Greece, and I was like, I wonder at that time what kind of music would they listen to, what kind of because there are things that I can apply to actual the cut. And again, for the case of the I'm still here was great because the film took place in Brazil in 1971, and there's a lot of great music, not only, I mean, the world in general, but Brazil specifically. And I was able to pick the music and kind of like populate the world of the film with that kind of sound. So I think my research is it's a lot of sort of audio research that I do that I can do to the film, but then anything that I can do to expand the understanding of the film is and what I'm cutting, that's always helpful.
Absolutely, of course. And if you were to, I suppose, identify any particular skills or traits that you thought were very useful to you specifically in your career as you've been building it, what do you think those are for how you're navigating the world, Kyla? And then Affonso, we'll come to you for the same question.
That's a good question. I think networking is always up there, if it can be called a skill or not. It's something I had to work at, to be honest. But it is all about the connections that you make and the people that you want to work with. So that's a big one. And also, I think just kind of like managing your own career is another one, making the right decisions to help support where you're trying to get to. Yeah, I don't know if that's a skill, but it's kind of managing, spinning lots of plates.
I think it's a skill. Yeah, I mean, none
it's
of us want to sit there waiting for our moment to come. We have to go and find it, right?
Exactly. And I think it's spinning all those plates to kind of make it happen, because you do really have to create those opportunities for yourself.
Absolutely.
And like you said before, balancing income and supporting yourself and still developing your creative voice, and yeah, just managing time, all those kind of things I think are quite important, because it's I think especially with directing, there's no real route in still in the UK. Like,
no playbook, is there really?
Yeah, you can be an assistant director, but that's you're really being trained for production. So it's hard, because you have to keep making work, because that's how you'll build your career, is just your work. That's all anybody needs to see. But you have to find those opportunities to make the work. So
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Affonso.
I mean, it's I agree that networking is yeah, I don't know if it's skill or not, but I still have people that two things actually I can't remember from school from London is MOS projects that then we had to go in the room and really create everything and Foley and then just create a world that is not there because everything was shot with no sound. And that skill never left. That skill was still is one of the things that I like to do a pass when I'm cutting a film. The first pass of sound design, I'll do it, but just because not because I'm like there's any kind of control issue. It's just I love doing it. I love understanding the world that way, and I think partly that's where it's like it connects back to the question before that my research is music and it's sound because it's the first thing I work. Obviously, I cut the thing together, but I need to create a sonic world for me to for the sound for the film to make sense. And that it was something that like 100% I learned doing it in London when we had to lay the tracks down and do all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it is the best bit. I mean, sorry, I know I'm a little bit biased. Okay, so I suppose, Alfonso, you started to answer this already, but what would, maybe Kyla, you can answer this one first, is what would you consider the most valuable part of your training at London Film School? What was what's the thing you've held on to and still think about, or what is the thing that sort of takes you back into a room in Cheltenham Street and you can see it happening in front of you and it reminds you of how to do something specific?
I definitely think it was the training in all the different disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really important for me because when I'm directing, I really understand on a deep level what every department is doing because I've done it. And, you know, you can really appreciate the sound recordist and every job. And it also gives you the foundation to be able to know what you're talking about because you've trained in camera and you've trained in sound, and you've experimented with all those things. And I'm really grateful that I got to play with all those different disciplines because I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to be a director when I first started at LFS. It was my dream, but I didn't have the confidence to kind of be like, yeah, I'm good enough to do that because it just felt like something very special and I was still quite insecure. And I really think it built my confidence, just the pitching. I was lucky enough to my films were chosen every single opportunity there was to direct. And that really built my confidence because I was like, oh, okay, so, you know, this is people actually, you know, believe in what I'm trying to do. And so that, yeah, I think it was, for me, it was a really important time because it really sort of, when I left, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a director and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people that have made the same amount of films outside of film school, funded their own shorts and kind of built their career that way. For me personally, I don't think I would have been able to get the network together to do that. I needed the container of a school and the structure and the support of like, you have to make a film this term, you have to make a film that term. So yeah, it definitely was the deciding factor for me.
I mean, it sounds like from both of you that, you know, the element that stays with you most is the other people. You're the rest of your cohort, and that's obviously something that you can only really get in a school environment. So you like you say, you could go off and try to do all this on your own, but having that structure to force yourself to make a film here, force yourself to do that role, force yourself to meet this person and start that network. Because I mean, frankly, I really hate networking, but I know I have to do it, so I have to make myself do it. And I always feel very uncomfortable about it, always have. But that doesn't mean that I don't have to do it. So, you know, forcing yourself to put yourself outside of your comfort zone sometimes to do things that maybe you weren't expecting to have to do in your life is something that we all benefit from. And doing that in an environment where it's a safe environment is even better, I find.
Yeah, and also it's so international. There's just people that I would never, obviously London is an international place anyway, but I have friends and colleagues now that I met at LFS that I've met all over the world and worked with all over the world, and that just wouldn't happen, I don't think, out if you were just sort of working. And my network definitely started there, and there's still major crew members that I met at LFS that I still work with.
Yeah. And Alfonso is talking to us from New York right now, right?
I am, yeah.
So you've been from, so where did you start? How did you find yourself at LFS, Alfonso?
I'm originally from Brazil, and I actually remember at the American Cinematography magazine, there was an ad at the back of about the school, and I decided that I want to go to film school, and then I went there, and so I was in film school. I was at LAFS for 3 years, the 2 years, and then it took me a year to finish to do the last because I was cutting a film and I directed my own film. That's how I graduated.
Right.
Then
Well,
I moved
yeah.
to the US. Yeah. And then I moved to the US. I moved to LA and then I moved to New York. And then I've been kind of like bouncing around. I spent most of my career here in New York. I actually live in LA. But I work in Brazil, I work in different places.
Yeah. And you were working when we saw you last week. You were working in London
I
and
was working in London, yeah, yeah.
cutting Hamnet, it seems.
Yeah, I was just starting to do Hamnet at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so what would you say to anybody on the call right now is a good way to I suppose start that process here? What are the kind of entry level areas that you think are useful to end up in the situations that you're both in now? What kind of do you start? Is it what a lot of people think? Is you start as some kind of assistant, or is that really not the kind of the right way to go? What kind of how did you find? I suppose how did you find your pathway through to what you're doing now? Kyla, you're going to go first.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Alfonso.
I think it depends what role you want to work in. I think if you want to direct or be a DOP or work in costume or anything like that, you need to try and get as much on-set experience as possible.
Mhm.
I was a runner for like 2 years before I came. I was also a camera operator, but I was running a lot before I came to LFS.
Mhm.
So I had been on set quite a lot already. And then because of that experience, I was sort of like the terms AD for every film because they were like, she knows how
Damn
to like
it.
run stuff and schedule stuff. And also because I grew up just outside of London, so I kind of already knew where you
Yeah.
can get good deals and where you can shoot and how to get permits and stuff like that. So I became everybody's AD, and then I was actually working professionally for quite a long time as an AD on the side of making my own films. But then I got smart about it and learn what a script supervisor did. First of all, I was like, who's that person right next to the director talking to the actors and sitting at the monitor like that? What's that?
That's where I want to be.
Yeah. So then that's when I managed to kind of make friends with some script supervisors and covered them when they needed a day off. And because I directed and gone through the editing process and everything with my editor, I could understand already what cuts together, what doesn't cut together, and coverage and continuity by sitting in the edit room and understanding, oh, this is junk because we messed up and there's no continuity, it doesn't cut together. So that's how I kind of then got into script supervising. And it's interesting because a lot of my contacts that are helping me now with directing, I kind of met from script supervising as well, because that sort of went up to the next level. So I think any set experience you can get is important. If you want to make your own films, I'm sure it's the same with editing, but Affonso can speak more on that. That you just have to make work, as much as possible and try and get it out there. Because that's how you learn and that's how you kind of get noticed, and you're going to make some bad films for a while, and then you start to find your voice. And festivals are great. There's so many festivals now, and there's so many initiatives and workshops and networking opportunities. Like there's just more and more every year going on to find your place in the whole industry, I think.
Yeah. And Affonso, is it really the case that if you're an assistant editor, then you end up being an editor? Is that the pathway, or is there something that is there something else that people need to know?
I mean, that is definitely a pathway. I mean, there are actually assistant editors that they're assistant editors for life.
Yeah.
That's what they want to be assistant editors. But that's the fastest way. I'm really happy that most of my assistant editors became editors. That's partly why when I hired them, there's something like I give them stuff to cut. We all constantly, and then when I feel like I just tell them I'm not hiring you anymore. You're an editor. You need to just go and be an editor. And try to help them. I know it's easier said than done, but try to help them get jobs or like connect them with lower budget films. Yeah, if you can be an assistant or you can be a second assistant or you can be an apprentice in the cutting room, just be around people. There's a great example to me, Nick Huey, he's an amazing editor who happened to be on a show. He was an assistant on a show. The editor, something happened with the editor. He became the editor in the show. The show did really well. He ended up meeting Greta Gerwig and cutting her first film, and now he's cutting Narnia.
Yeah.
And he was
Wow.
in the right place at the right time. He happened to be
Absolutely.
a fantastic assistant that then becomes a great editor that then becomes like just has like this amazing career. So just being in the cutting room and meeting people and making the connection, it's so much about the connection that, and there's people that I met in film school that I still work with, and that connection that
Yeah.
leads you to is like that may be your path to keep working, whatever you want to do, is just that those connections you make in film school.
Definitely. I mean, I did the same thing. I just hung around, hung around places that I thought that I would find the right kind of people.
Yeah.
I started off as a boom op. I'm possibly the shortest boom op on the planet. I'm 5'2", so boom opping at the 5'2" is not a great thing. But then I've ended up doing what I do, and I think everybody's going to have a slightly different pathway, and everyone's going to find a different way through to where they want to go to. But the first stop really is to really be in the place where those people are as much as you possibly can, and whether that's on set or whether that's in the cutting room or somewhere else. I think that's being present and making other people aware of who you are as well is always going to help. Always
Yeah,
going to help.
definitely.
I have a question for you both, and then we will open up the floor to our guests. What is the strongest abiding memory you have of the school? And whoever thinks about it first can go first.
I have so many. I think I don't know if the building's being used like that anymore, but the camera department was on one of the top floors, and if you ever needed kit, you had to go to the top floor. So just carrying, like, I think I got so strong during that time, carrying boxes of camera equipment and lights up and down. It was just it felt like a real baptism of fire. Like you kind of have to sweat to make it. And it really the whole experience really bonded everyone together because it was really hard at times, but amazing. And it felt like, it wasn't easy, but we worked really hard for the results.
It's not quite the same anymore, but
I know. So
we've got a new building as well. So we've got across two buildings, and the camera kit is in the basement in the old building, or on the stage, and it's in the first floor in this building as well. So less stairs to climb up with heavy boxes, but there is still a little bit of that.
Less graft.
Yeah,
but it felt like
a lot going between the two buildings.
Preparation. It felt like a real preparation for the real world, because it's not easy, and it really it kind of, there was a process of like who was really serious, not just carrying the boxes, but it was who is really here because they're going to make it in the real world. And I think I quite quickly sort of navigated to those people that were just really serious and put their art and their craft first.
I mean, at the end of the day, it might not have been the same when Affonso was here, but it's a master's course. It's serious work, and it's not a case of being here for fun. We have to learn this craft, and that's, you know, once you sign that contract, put that money down, that's the contract you're making with yourself, is to work as hard as you can, and try to understand this crazy, amazing world of filmmaking, I think. Affonso, your abiding memory of the school.
I mean, it's something actually similar. I remember in the old building, going to the top
Actual
floor,
top floor, yeah.
actual top floor with the editing. What I like is because there's so many of the little rooms. I mean, there's a main room that I remember on the right hand side with a steam back, but we all got tiny little rooms with a pig sink.
Yeah.
Just this sort of like commiserating and meeting with everybody that's working at the time. That's when I met most of the people and a lot of them became like very close friends to this day. It wasn't really, I mean, you go and edit and then you have to step outside, and then there's all kind of people from different years and different times doing different projects. And it was just great to be, and sometimes you get called in, it's like, come take a look at it, and what do you think of this? And then it's that kind of, it's sort of like camaraderie too, and just you already, I think making films by watching other people's films and discussing and learning that way too, which is something that I miss and I carry like the most from my time in London for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say what my first memory of the school is, because I've been here for 2.5 years now, and my first memory of the school really is the people. So I came the first time I came, it was an end of term screening, and I'm sure Kyla at least knows exactly what those entail, and it literally was a sort of a feeling of camaraderie from the outset. And you could tell that you were in a room with people who had experienced filmmaking together. And that's before they even started rolling the films, and I sort of really understood what amazing work comes out of these projects. But it felt like, you know, going through that small red door at Shelton Street with, you know, loads and loads of people inside, everybody having a great time, and just celebrating with each other that they had managed to come out with these films, which really demonstrate and evidence people's hard work and their creativity and their willingness to collaborate. I mean, that's another thing that we haven't really spoken about much. But collaboration is absolutely key to that process. And I think if we find ourselves in a position where everyone around you is willing to collaborate, the potential in that room is really massive. So that was my first memory of the school, and I think I will keep that till the day I die. I think it was a really interesting experience, and the films I saw that day were incredible from all over the course as well. So they weren't all graduation films, and I just, yeah, I think that was one of the reasons I said yes to the job, I think. um, so what I will do is I'll open it up to the floor now. I'm just answering one question. Osama has asked about scholarships. The best thing to do in that case, if you want to know anything about scholarships, Osama, is to talk to the admissions team. They can tell you about all the different kinds of options that might be available to you. I would love to answer you, but I don't want to give you the wrong information. So please do ask the admissions team, so that you can get the right information there. Does anybody have any questions for our team here, for Affonso or Kyla? We will see. Whilst people are typing away, one question that I didn't ask earlier is about your experience of collaboration. Now, obviously, when you're in a sort of school environment, collaboration can be really exhilarating, and it can be frustrating, and it can be enlightening, and all those things. What was the thing you took away most in a sort of positive way from the collaborations that you had while you were at the school, Affonso?
I think the one thing that I remember about the school that I love so much is that fact that you pointed out at the beginning, that you learn, the school sort of encourage you to learn everything. So the collaboration, so at one point I'm directing, and then I'm operating, and then I'm editing, and then so it's you learn to collaborate because you learn to collaborate in different ways, and you kind of like by doing that you just start figuring out, oh, this is the like I remember when I like fell in love with editing, it was immediate. It was like this is like love at first sight. It's like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Doing a little project, one of the first projects we had to do that everybody had to cut the same thing. And then you'd be like, okay, now I know what I want to do, but now I want to learn how to like, remember building a set or like wrapping a cable. And those are things that I still to this day I remember how to do, but also how to delegate, how to ask questions, how to so the collaborations, it's just it becomes so natural because you do everything. And then you ask questions, and you have to be open, otherwise you're not going to learn anything. So collaborations, I think, is the key word for you to really get the best out of school.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Alfonso. So we have some questions now. So somebody who's down as anonymous has asked, what is the most difficult part of the course and life of being a student on the course? I mean, Kyla, you've been a student more recently here. What was the most difficult part for you?
I think it was quite an intense time. I think I suppose figuring things out financially can be tricky because it does take up all of your time. It's hard to do other things at the same time. And I was really dedicated, so I don't think I ever missed one class. Like I was really
Wow.
a nerd. I was like this. I've got this opportunity. I've managed to be here. Education is costs money, and I was just like, I'm not taking any of it for granted. So I was very dedicated, but I just loved it. Like it was hard, but it was hard in terms of the amount of work you had to do, trying to actually get your film made, making the film that you wanted to make. Like your heart was broken over and over again artistically because you're just new to the process. So you want it to be a certain way, and then it's not. And you want to just stand at the front of your crit and say, it doesn't look like this because we only had this many hours and we couldn't get this permit, or this other person took up too much time, and da, da, da. But you can only let the people watch the work, and it has to speak for itself. So it's tough. Like the crits are tough. You have to just sit there and take it and learn from it. But I wouldn't change a thing. Like I learned so much from that, even though it was definitely hard, but on an emotional, artistic kind of level, just because my heart was so deeply in it that it's learning to take criticism and all of those kind of things. And thinking your first term film is going to go to a festival or something, and then being like, oh,
it's interesting.
I thought it was going to be.
Whenever we talk to the students about making things maybe a little bit easier sometimes, because we understand, we can see that, and they all turn around and go, no, it's really, no, don't do that, don't make it easier. We like the feedback, we like the challenge, and so I always found that incredibly interesting, because it basically shows that people have got passion and they want to learn, and I think that's incredibly enticing as an environment to learn in. Alfonso?
I think it's something I would say similar in a way, because it's so intense. You learn so much so quickly. It's just to keep up. I think that's I remember the hardest part. Like you have a full day of you learn how to use the camera one day and everything that entails, and then you can go have a class to how to talk to actors, and then you have a class how to edit, just to keep everything up. And then I remember having to go. I'll go back home and try to write it down or remember. So that intensity, I think that was the hardest. I mean, it was amazing. I loved it, but it's probably like keeping up with it is probably the what I remember being the hardest.
Great. And then I have a question that either one of you can answer if you want to. So Selma is asking about cinematography, and they say that whenever they shoot at night, even on a camera like an FX3, there's quite a lot of grain, but he wants to avoid using a lot of lights. So does anybody have any advice about how to get less grain with not too many lights? Kyla, I guess.
Fast lenses. You got to
Fastly.
get lenses that open very wide and just try and use whatever light there is, whether that's a street light or shop lights. Just what have a use the existing lights to your advantage. So because lights are higher expensive, but you can get great images. If you want to shoot a little scene and someone's just standing outside of a corner shop, that corner shop could be giving off some really interesting light that you could play with. And also try cutting light. Try go to find places that have existing light that you can use, and then try cutting it with just pieces of card and things like that. You can do a lot for not a lot of money, because you can say fast lenses, but they cost a lot of money. So if you're just really trying to understand light at the beginning, I think start with more and cut it, because you can just do that with bits of cardboard.
Right, thank you. And Hannah is asking, we'll ask Affonso if you remember that far back. What films specifically were your favorite to make at LFS? What projects were particularly fulfilling for you creatively?
It was my fourth term film.
Hmm.
It's a film called Montana. It's a black and white MOS film, because at that time we all had to do a film in 35. It was 35, no sound. I can't remember. I think it was 10 minutes short. And I remembered that I added that. It was just and it was based on some shepherd story. And I remember to this day, that's probably one of the best one of my favorite films, period, that I've ever worked on, because we had to build the sound, and it it was great fun. That was it. My fourth term.
Great. Kyla, do you remember?
Was it my favorite film?
Yeah, your favorite film here at
I mean,
LFS.
it was my grad film. Definitely. That was like we really we really went hard on that, and I had an amazing team that really sort of believed in what we
Yeah.
were doing. And it was the first film that I mean, you're never really like happy with a film, but it was the first film that I was really proud of. But
Mm.
actually, I think some of my best experiences were actually camera operating on film, because I camera operated for a full-term film,
Mm.
and just loading the film and knowing how to do that and working with the dolly, and it was just so exciting, because you're essentially doing it blind, and
Mm.
then sitting in the screening room to see what you shot. And I was like a focus puller on someone else's film in that fourth term. So I was really focusing on camera, because I was still at that point not 100% sure that I was going to direct. And I also always had a passion for camera. So I was
Mhm.
trying to make sure I got a good camera education, and the fact that everything was sharp when we sat in the screening room when I was a focus puller.
That helps.
I was sweating because it was a really beautiful film, and I was like, oh no, the acting was good, and the director was great,
Yeah.
and I was just like, if it's soft, I would be devastated. So it was all sharp, and it was just
Mhm.
incredible to work with film in that way.
Great, thank you. And James, hi James. I saw you last week. James has a question for Afonso. He says, firstly, congrats on your involvement in Hamnet. I'm aware that Chloe Zhao had more of a physical involvement with editing in Hamnet. What for you were the pros and cons of the editing process with a film director of her standards, and the relationship it allowed you to build with her in order to create what was such a moving and encapsulating project?
Thank you. It was interesting, because I've done this before, where the director did a first pass, and then I came in and worked with her. I mean, we had a long conversation about it prior to doing this, and it was a period of adjustment, because she did a pass and then I came in. I kind of did a pass using her assembly of the film, and and then basically I kept cutting it, and she would come, and then we had discussions and stuff like that. I mean, I think the only downside is the fact that I don't have that fresh eye to for the footage, because she said, don't watch anything. Just I want you to watch the film as an assembly first. So that was my first experience. That so it kind of like I wish I had time to at least watch the footage before I did it, but she didn't want me to do that. But we quickly adjusted. Like, we had lots of conversations about every scene and every cut, and I had the freedom to try different things. So he was in the end he worked out really, really well.
Right, thank you. And James also has a question for Kyla. How did you come around to creating your first feature film as a director? And also, did the buzz you got from film festivals play a big part in that?
Yeah, so that my first feature film was straight out of LFS, and it was basically all LFS collaborators,
Mhm.
which was really amazing. It was a development of my grad film, and I co-directed it with an Iranian director, Amin Bakashian, who also graduated as a director from LFS. Um, and yeah, the festival buzz, it did help with that film, although it probably came out at the beginning of COVID. So
Mhm.
we were just about to do a big sort of worldwide Q&A tour, and then all the cinemas shut down. So it was
Yep.
a challenging time, but I made a lot of connections with festivals with that film,
Mm.
regardless of some of them not physically happening. So I definitely recommend, you know, making those connections with your
Mhm.
shorts already, and it's just another aspect of networking and knowing the people running the festivals and that are working at the festivals, and then they
Mhm.
look out for your next work and that kind of thing definitely
Yeah, yeah.
definitely helps. And there's also a lot of development funds and workshops. Like I just did one um with Torino Film, which
Great.
was really
Yeah.
great. And that brings a whole other network. And so that was a script development workshop, and then you're kind of in touch with them for the next steps of
Mm.
production and that kind of thing. So it's definitely festivals are good, but I think it's about targeting the right ones for your film and building those connections, definitely.
We just came back from Clermont-Ferrand a few weeks ago, which is basically the largest short film festival on the planet, and it has a short film festival market, which is not something that happens every day at all. And we took six students with us, or four grads and two students, and they ended up pitching for their next projects. A couple of them came away with possible agents, and some of them were talking to execs for funding and stuff like that. So, actually, again, being in the right place at the right time with the right people is incredibly impactful. We're going to have to wind up here now in just a second, but I wanted to ask. So those of you that have put questions in the box that I haven't been able to get to, I apologize profusely. You can always email me if they're to do with the course. And I hope that the answers that we've given tonight go some way to answering some of the things that are left to answer. But there's one more question that I think is really, really great to close on, which is, for both of you, and maybe I'll answer as well. What makes a good LFS student? Affonso, do you want to answer from your perspective?
It's a hard question, but what makes a good LFS student? I think I think you being dedicated and being like really passionate about it, that makes you a great student. Really learn everything, really be part of like as much as you can, watch all the film, study, go out like at the end of the day. I remember after school, and we watch a lot of stuff and whatever at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. I can't remember. I would go to a movie afterwards just because I want to learn and learn more. And I think just keep watching films, just meeting people, making the connections, and just be super passionate about it. And then yeah, I think that's the best way to be a great student there.
Great. Kyla.
Yeah, I think definitely, first of all, it's commitment, which is kind of echoing the same thing, because you'll really get out of the school what you put in. And there is an overwhelming amount of things to learn during that time, and it is intense, but it also goes very quickly, and then it's over, and you'll wish you were back in back in film school, just for the creativity and the freedom. But yeah, so definitely commitment, and I think try and drop your ego as well. That was something that was quite an interesting thing that I learned, that there was I think that's a really big part of collaborating, is to really understand you can't make a film on your own. You need everybody else. Every role is as important as every other role. There is not one single person on the team, on set, that isn't necessary. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So I think it's just really respecting what everybody does, and just being really open to collaboration, and people really surprise you, like, if you can open your mind and yeah, see what they're all about from all different corners of the world as well. It's culturally really amazing to see what everybody brings. So I think just a big openness, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would add to both of those. Both of those are absolutely true. I think the other thing that I would really like to see in our students is an energy and a passion to find out more. Some of you will come with previous experience, some of you will come with no previous experience in the same sort of ways. But what we really want is, we want people who want to be storytellers. We want people who want to make these amazing things with other people as well. That collaboration thing is incredibly important, but also just to be able to have an open mind, as Kyla is saying, that have that open mind, try new things. I want to see people doing things that they are really uncomfortable doing sometimes. I want to see people going, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do sound for a term. I'm going to make sure that I am really, really good at that, and I know exactly what happens at any given time. But I know that I don't want to do that for my career. I just know that that's something that I need to learn. I want people to start looking at telling stories they're not sure how to do, so they can develop those skills. I want people to put themselves in a position where they're getting feedback that maybe is quite difficult to take, and understanding how to process that. What do you do when someone tells you that they don't like your project? How do you take that on board? Learning how to do that in a safe environment like the school is so valuable for how you move forward in the world, no matter what you do with your life. So that's what I really want to see. I want to see passion and energy, and a will, a need to tell stories. Okay. Thank you so much to Affonso and Kyla. Thank you for giving up your time today to be with me and to be with our guests. Thank you to Charlotte, who's been sitting in the background, who's from our events team. And thank you to you all. Hi, Charlotte. Thank you to you all for coming and for sending in your amazing questions. I'm very, very sorry that we haven't got to all of them tonight. If you have any further questions about the course or anything like that, you can always get hold of the school very, very easily. If you want to know anything about admissions, fees, visas, sponsors, all the rest of it, then you need to talk to the admissions team. We have an in-person open day coming up. I can't remember exactly when that is. Do you know, Charlotte?
I believe it's the 12th of May.
Okay, 12th of May, that sounds about right. Yep. So if you happen to be in the UK, in London at that point in time, you're perfectly, so you're all invited to come to that. And just keep an eye out on the website, follow us on Instagram, all the rest, and then you'll see what's happening within the school, LinkedIn, etc., etc. So thank you very much again to Affonso and Kyla. Really, really amazing answers, and thank you for your time. And thank you to you all for being here. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.